There's a, well...
Can you raise my visor?
Sure.
There we go. Just lift it up. That's right. Yeah.
There's a good reason for that?
Yeah. Whenever we do the field escorts and stuff like that, we try to look as much as we can, the sheriff, police, whatever.
That man just told a police officer on a body camera that he dresses up as a cop so people will obey him. He has no idea what he just did, but I do, because I am a criminal defense attorney, and what he just said on camera is not a statement, it is a signed confession. My name is George Graves. I have spent 15 years defending people charged with impersonating law enforcement. And I can tell you right now, what you are about to watch is one of the most devastating self-incriminations I have ever seen on a body camera. I am going to walk you through every moment of this stop. I am going to show you exactly where this man destroyed his own defense, what the law actually says about what he did, and what happens to him after the handcuffs go on, because that is where most people stop watching. The arrest, the cop car, the end. But I am going to show you what comes next. The charges, the courtroom, the sentence. And why, if this man had a defense attorney standing next to him during this stop, I would have told him to stop talking 12 minutes ago. It starts with a traffic stop. An officer spots a motorcycle blowing through stop signs with police-style lights flashing. Right away, the officer sees something that does not add up. This man is dressed head to toe in tactical equipment. He has a vest. He has a radio. He has a badge that says traffic on it. He looks like a cop. He is not a cop. 2 tasers. Let that register for a second.
Do me a favor, put your hands on your head, because now you got a gun today. Yeah, keep your hands on your head, both of them. Both hands on your head. Both hands on your head. Both hands. There you go. Clean it. All right, let's hop off.
This man is carrying 2 tasers on a motorcycle, and watch what happens when the officer looks closer. The officer finds pepper spray, an expandable baton, a body vest, a radio device, and a badge. This man has more equipment on him than some patrol officers carry on a full shift.
My name's Officer Reineke. So a couple things why I stopped you. Okay. Number 1, you didn't stop at Line in Oakland.
Yeah.
Number 2, you didn't stop at Line in Devonshire.
Hurry up, I'm burning up.
Okay. Well, see where we're at? So,
That's taser.
is this a real taser?
Yes.
It's a real taser? Oh, weird. Okay. And what is going on with your sidearm, sir? This is a taser too? Got it. Okay, cool. We're just gonna clear you down here, because...
Now, pay close attention to what the officer asks next, because this question is going to matter.
Okay, cool. Any other goodies that I need to know about that are gonna hurt me potentially?
No, sir.
No? Where's it? In this pocket?
No.
Fantastic. Do you have a guard card, sir?
No, sir.
No, but you're carrying a taser and an ass baton.
Legal for me to carry a taser, but like I said, I do criminal concessions.
Okay, well, that's not
And
what we're
sometimes I
doing,
work over here
okay?
at the meeting.
All right, come over here with me, okay?
They're in court. A guard card. That is the critical question. In California, if you want to carry a baton in any professional capacity, you need 2 things. A guard card issued by the Bureau of Security and Investigative Services, that is BSIS, and a separate baton permit that requires state-approved training. Without those, possessing that baton is a criminal offense under Penal Code Section 22210. And that is not just a misdemeanor. That is a wobbler. The prosecutor can charge it as a felony. Now here is where this case gets significantly worse. Because what the public did not know at the time of this stop, and what came out after his arrest, is that this man is a convicted felon. He has a prior felony conviction out of Kentucky. He has additional convictions in Riverside County from 2009 and 2010, including brandishing a weapon. Under California law, a convicted felon cannot legally possess a taser under Penal Code 22610, cannot possess pepper spray under Penal Code 22810, and possessing that baton as a felon turns what might have been a misdemeanor into a felony. Every single weapon on this man is not just unlicensed, it is prohibited. He is not allowed to touch any of it. But here is where this stop takes a turn that no defense attorney can fix. The officer asks the man what he does, why he is dressed like this, why he has all this equipment, And the man answers honestly, that is the worst thing he could have done. I need you to understand what
like you're a
There's a good reason for that.
you're a police officer.
There's a good reason.
Okay. There's a well.
Can you raise my visor? So
Sure.
There we go. Just lift it up. That way. Yeah.
There's a good reason for that.
Yeah. Whenever we do the field escorts and stuff like that, we try to look as much as we can, the sheriff, police, whatever. This main reason is that people will respect you more and they'll listen to us.
Okay.
I mean, we get out there, you know as well as we do, we get out there and we're stopping traffic, controlling traffic.
Sure.
And
it just happened, because most people hear that and think he is just explaining his job. He is not. He just handed the prosecution the single hardest element to prove in any impersonation case. Let me break this down. In California, police impersonation is governed by Penal Code Section 538D. The statute makes it a crime to willfully wear, exhibit, or use the authorized uniform, insignia, emblem, device, label, certificate, card, or writing of a peace officer with the intent of fraudulently impersonating a peace officer, or with the intent of fraudulently inducing the belief that the wearer is a peace officer. Two elements, the uniform or insignia, and the intent. The uniform part is easy. He is wearing a vest with a badge that says traffic. He has police-style lights on his motorcycle. He is carrying weapons that only law enforcement and licensed security carry. That element is done. But intent. Intent is where impersonation cases live or die. The prosecution has to prove that this man did not just look like a cop by accident. They have to prove he wanted people to think he was a cop. That is usually the hard part. Prosecutors spend weeks building circumstantial cases around intent. They bring in witnesses who saw the defendant directing traffic. They pull records of complaints. They piece together a pattern. This man handed it to them in one sentence. People will respect you more and they will listen to us. That is not a man describing a job. That is a man admitting that the entire point of the disguise is to make civilians believe he has authority. That is the textbook definition of the intent element under 538D. And he said it on a body camera. It is recorded. It is time-stamped. It is admissible. Now I want to explain something that most people do not know about statements like this. Because in a courtroom, this does not just come in as something the defendant said. It comes in under a specific rule of evidence that makes it devastating. Under California Evidence Code Section 1220, any statement made by a party to a case is admissible against them. Period. There is no hearsay objection. There is no foundation requirement. If you said it and you are the defendant, the prosecution can play it. This is stronger than a declaration against interest because the prosecution does not even need to prove the statement was against your interest at the time you made it. It just needs to be your words. That statement will be played in court. It will be played for the jury, and the prosecution will point at it and say, he told you himself. He dressed like a cop so people would obey him. That is impersonation. That is intent. He said it on camera to a police officer, and the defense cannot exclude it. They cannot argue it was coerced because he volunteered it. They cannot argue it was taken out of context because the full body camera footage shows exactly the context. This statement is bulletproof for the prosecution. If I were his defense attorney, the moment those words left his mouth, my strategy would need to fundamentally change. Because the intent element is no longer arguable. And it does not stop there. Because this man cannot stop talking.
Okay. So you ride with a company?
Well, I'm freelance, but I do ride for several different
You
companies.
freelance. Okay.
This is one of the uniforms they require. You know,
Got it.
slider escort.
Got it. Well, we're going to figure out a couple things here. I'm going to have you just hang tight and sit here with my partners while I'm going to do a quick inspection on the motorcycle, all right?
The officer asks if he works for a company. He says he is freelance. That one word eliminates an entire defense strategy. If he worked for a licensed funeral escort company, his attorney could argue the company required the uniform and provided the equipment. Freelance means every piece of gear on that motorcycle is his personal choice. There is no employer to blame. He claims he...
May not be.
Yeah.
They're not
You
legal.
gotta be certified in those.
Do you have a card? Who put you through instructor course for, the taser program?
I did go through the taser program.
You did?
Yeah.
Through who?
Through San Bernardino.
San Bernardino Sheriffs?
No, it's through guard, security guard thing over there.
Okay. Do you have the card with you saying you have a certification?
No, they gave me certification that's framed in my home.
He gave you a certificate?
Yeah.
You're supposed to have something that always...
As taser training, the officer asks for proof. He has nothing on him. Certificate is at home, he says. It does not matter. A training certificate does not override a felony conviction. Under Penal Code 22-610, a convicted felon is a prohibited person. The law does not care how qualified you are. It cares whether you are allowed to possess the weapon at all. Then he tries to name drop the police.
Fully kitted up like you're a
There's a good reason for that.
you're a police officer. I'm not going to call the chief, sir.
I'll call him.
Okay.
And I'll call the mayor.
Yeah, please. Quick inspections on the motorcycle, all right?
Police chief asks the officer to call him. The officer shuts it down immediately. I don't work in the world of favoritism and backdoor deals. That goes on the body camera too. And then the formal arrest. He is arrested. Transported to the station, the motorcycle is towed. And for most people watching, this is where the story ends. The fake cop got caught. Justice served. Move on to the next video.
Do you mind picking me up and putting me in the back of your car?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
starting to get me.
Sure. We got you.
I am a heart transplant patient.
Totally understand, sir. You ready? Put your feet out in front of you. There you go. Stand up. Oh, thank you. Where's your unit?
It's a bath.
Can we put them in yours? You mind?
Yeah.
Do it? All right. Cool.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, I'll let you pull it out. There you go.
You have a chain cuff?
No, we do not, sir. But it's not. It's gonna be a short ride to the our station. Okay.
I know where it is. Okay. Thank you. Well, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that an infraction?
What's an infraction?
That's what I'm being arrested for.
My partner will explain everything to you. I believe when it comes to weapons that you cannot have, it may be a misdemeanor, it may be a felony. Okay. All right. Tell me, sir.
But I am a defense attorney. This is where my story begins. Because what happens after the arrest is where the real consequences land. And they are more serious than most people expect. Let me walk you through what this man is facing. First, the charges. Based on what we saw on that body camera, the prosecutor has the basis for multiple counts. Police impersonation under Penal Code 538D is a misdemeanor. The penalty depends on how you did it. If the prosecution charges under subsection A for wearing the uniform and insignia, that is up to 6 months in county jail. But if they can prove he used an actual peace officer's badge, subsection B applies, and that bumps it to 1 year in county jail and up to $2,000 in fines. That badge on his vest that says traffic is going to be a key piece of evidence in determining which subsection the prosecutor files under. Either way, if that were the only charge, this would be a bad day. But it would not be a life-altering day. The weapons charges are what change everything, because 2 of those charges are wobblers. In California, a wobbler is a crime that the prosecutor can file as either a misdemeanor or a felony. It is entirely up to the district attorney. The baton charge under Penal Code 22-210, wobbler. If filed as a felony, that carries 16 months, 2 years, or 3 years in county jail. The pepper spray charge under Penal Code 22-810, also a wobbler, same felony sentencing range. So this man walked into a traffic stop carrying equipment that put him at risk of felony charges before anyone even asked his name. And here is the math that matters. 1 misdemeanor impersonation charge plus 2 potential felony weapons charges plus another misdemeanor for the tasers. That is not a traffic ticket situation anymore. That is a situation where the prosecutor has enormous leverage and the defense attorney is working from a position of almost no strength. Now let me tell you what happens in the courtroom.
I got to ask this. Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Just our protocol or rules that we have.
Well, I just wondered if there was something to them,
Yeah. Are you gonna stand in this box for me? Go ahead, spread out your feet and you're gonna face that wall, okay?
And all I'm trying to do is make enough money to live off of.
Yeah, what do you do for work?
Escorts.
Escorts?
Yeah. Plus I get a lousy $1,200 a month from Social Security.
Okay.
You can't live on $1,200 a month. You gotta do something.
No, I understand that, sir.
It's legal, on everything.
Face the wall for me, face the wall.
Oh, I thought you wanted to open the door.
No, yeah. Go ahead. Alright. So, the investigating officer is gonna come and talk to you, okay? You can use a, huh?
You have to how long?
Probably like 10 minutes. So, your property is gonna be put in a bag.
Room, because I have been in this room. I have sat next to clients facing these exact charges. After the arrest, he is booked, fingerprinted, photographed. He either posts bail or he waits for arraignment. Scheduled bail for impersonation in Riverside County starts at around $5,000, but with the weapons charges and his prior record, a judge can raise that significantly. At arraignment, the charges are formally read. He enters a plea. If he has a defense attorney, and he should, the attorney is going to look at the evidence and have a very uncomfortable conversation. And here's the problem. As a defense attorney, what do I argue? I cannot argue he did not look like a cop. The body camera shows every piece of equipment, including Riverside County Sheriff's Department-style patches. I cannot argue he did not intend to be mistaken for a cop. He said on camera that the whole point is to make people think he has authority. I cannot argue the weapons were legally possessed. He is a convicted felon. He is prohibited from possessing any of them. I cannot argue the employer made him do it. He is freelance. And his former employer, a legitimate funeral escort company, has publicly confirmed that their escorts do not carry weapons. The realistic outcome here is a plea deal. That is the only move a competent defense attorney makes with this evidence. The goal is to get the wobbler charges filed as misdemeanors instead of felonies, consolidate the counts, and try to avoid custody time. But this man has priors, a felony conviction, weapons-related history. That is exactly the profile that makes prosecutors push for felony filing on the wobblers. A first-time offender with no record might walk away with informal probation and community service. This man is not a first-time offender, and the evidence is not ambiguous. It is on camera. Now I want to talk to you, because this video...
I just explained to you the tasers, the baton, all that stuff right now.
Get a hold of the chief, please.
I'm not going to call the chief, sir.
I'll call him.
Okay.
You can also call the mayor.
Yeah, please. That's fine, sir. Well, the law is what the law is. So I don't work in the world of favoritism and personal favorites and backdoor deals, sir. So
is not just about one man on a motorcycle. If you work in private security or any field where you carry equipment that could be confused with law enforcement, the line between legal and criminal comes down to documentation. Guard card, training permits, employer mandate. Without those, you are one traffic stop away from this man's situation. And if you are ever pulled over by someone who does not look right, you do not have to guess. Call 911. Dispatch can confirm in seconds whether a real officer is conducting a stop in your area. That body camera footage you just watched is exactly why this matters. That man was operating in public with police equipment, police lights, and the full expectation that civilians would obey him. And until a real officer pulled him over for running a stop sign, it was working. If you are dealing with a criminal charge and you do not know your rights, get an attorney. Do not talk to police without one. Do not explain your way out of it on a body camera, because every word you say is recorded, and it will be played back to you in a courtroom. If this video helped you understand what police impersonation actually looks like and what happens after the arrest, hit that subscribe button. I break down cases like this every week. Straight legal analysis from a defense attorney's perspective, the law, the charges, and what actually happens in the courtroom. I am George Graves. Know your rights.